Ladies and gentlemen, before we begin these next two episodes, part one and part two of The Day It Happened, we wanted to just provide a brief disclaimer, a warning. We are going to be going over a lot of heavy topics that include, of course, death ultimately, but cancer, cardiac arrest, and overall medical experiences. So we want you, one, to be aware, and two, to understand we're not looking to open up any old wounds for anyone. We're sharing our journeys with what came about, but definitely take time away as you need it, pause it as you need it. But we just wanted you to know, and hopefully you guys are taking that step with us of healing, as well as being kind to yourselves. Hope you enjoy the episode. Welcome, listeners, to episode 2, and this is a two-parter, so you get a special feature right off the bat. We figured we were talking so goddamn much in the first one, we'll probably have to split this one up.
Yeah, we definitely will.
Off the bat. So this is episode 2, part 1, The Day That It Happened. And in this one, by the way, for those of you listening for the first time, my name is Amit Majithia. I am your co-host for Baap.
And my name is Neel Amin. I'm also your co-host. So,
two co-hosts. But this episode title is The Day It Happened. And to give a little bit of context about what we're going to be going over in this episode, Neel and I are both going to be talking about the day that our dads passed away. Of course, there's going to be a lot that we can share just about that one day specifically, but we're also going to focus on the days leading up to it, sort of what our mental state was like, how we maybe even dealt with some of that, what we saw, what we felt, and more importantly, what we felt that we didn't say because we just didn't know how to deal with it or we didn't know who to go to. So part 1 will be my story, quote unquote, and then part 2 will be Neel sharing his side.
Yep. These episodes are going to be brought to you by unsponsored boxes of tissue. Just for copyright purposes. But if you have them handy, I'm sure if you've gone through any of this, it might hit a chord. So, if you have your box of tissues, it's okay. I do, as you saw. So,
if not, at least no one's watching y'all that you know of. I will be.
It's okay if they were,
depending on when. I will be forthcoming when I say that. Similar to the first episode, as I mentioned, comedy. English apparently is my second language, maybe third even at this point. Shit.
I mean, I still remember repressing, so
repressment. Get it right.
Oh, repressment.
Trademarking that
shit. You could, and you may not get anyone using it, but hey,
sounds a lot like this podcast.
Pat Riley with the 3-peat. I mean, you never know when they'll come around.
Yeah, you never know. But as I mentioned in that first episode, comedy is my relief, is my coping mechanism. So throughout this, if I'm throwing in random jokes, I don't mean to insult anyone who has gone through this journey and feels differently about it or copes differently with it. It is simply my coping mechanism. So I hope I don't hurt any of you. I'm sharing my story, my journey, my process, maybe even to a certain degree. And I appreciate everyone listening. So without further ado,
tell us about the day it happened. Yeah. Huh? I said, tell us about the day that it happened.
I could tell you a lot of details about the before and about the after. Ironically enough, there's not a whole lot that I can share about the day it happened. And what I mean by that is it's almost like a blur. And it almost feels like it happened within just the snap of a finger. So I'll set the stage a bit because I think context is going to be important here. I'm glad I brought my water bottle with me.
Yeah, I was about to say, do you have it? Do you have it kind of next to you? Do you have a box of tissues as well?
I don't, but I have one of my old raggedy t-shirts right here. Hey, just throw it to me through the computer or some shit. I don't know. Should have Amazon that shit. All right, so
I was going to text you beforehand to tell you because it might go there. Shoot. I cry if I see someone crying too. That's the problem. That's
You're a
why I
sympathy
brought mine.
crier. All right, well, I'll try my best to keep it together. So we're not both crying, but if we do, we do.
No,
And
you should not keep it together because of that. Just let yourself have
we're
it.
not going to apologize for it. All right, to set the stage, this was 2011. I had just graduated high school, and maybe that dates me now too. Glenbard North High School. Shout out to the Panthers. Great fucking time in high school, man. I miss high school shit. And right after the summer I graduated, I decided to go to UIC, the University of Indians and Chinese. I did not create that. I did not make that up. Please don't get mad at me. I'm simply repeating things that I heard back in the day.
That was really a thing?
That was really a thing. That was what it was called. One of the stupid nicknames.
I'm going to try my best. I know this is on video. I'm trying not to judge. I'm just going to let you guys have that. That's pretty funny.
Let's just say that there was a reason it was called that. Anyway, let's see. High school. Yeah. At the end of high school, I can't say that I had anything that stood out about me as a quote unquote prospective student that would have sent me to prestigious universities, much to the dismay of my parents, who of course wanted me to go to high-end universities or whatever. The good part is that they didn't know a whole lot about what they didn't know. So to them, UIC was a good school. It's totally
it's top tier. It's top tier.
Top tier.
Shout out that UIC education.
Yes, sir. I mean, we made it this far. It wasn't UIC that made us this far, but that's whatever.
I think that's your own doing.
Yeah, probably. So started off at UIC freshman year, and I actually was roommates with my still best friend. Shout out Shivam Tucker. He's a DJ, by the way, if y'all are looking. But
Dope.
Anyway.
Dope. Free advertisement here. Dope.
Great. He's an amazing fucking DJ too. He's got a musical background. Take 10 seconds to spiel. Modi Brothers Entertainment. I'm kidding. That sounds like an infomercial.
That's our other sponsor.
He is a great DJ, has a great musical background, super humble human being. And he was my roommate freshman year. And I could not have been more grateful, not only for him being my roommate, but also just our friendship. So freshman year comes along, and I'm an idiot. Not only am I an idiot in high school, I'm an even bigger idiot in college because my parents aren't with me Monday through Friday, right? I got all this freedom, all this time that I don't know what the fuck to do with.
Yeah. You know what to do.
Yeah.
Let loose.
Well, that's the best part. Ironically, the best part. I was in a relationship for a good portion of my life. College was a part of that. So that version of having fun didn't necessarily occur. But that was not that I'm trying to say that was a bad thing or that I regret that. I'm just putting that out there. So freshman year comes along. I move into the dorms 6 months in. I won't focus so much on freshman year because it doesn't really matter to the story. But 6 months in, we find out that Dad was diagnosed with cancer. And the best part was he didn't want to go. He didn't want to go get diagnosed. He didn't want to go get checked up. But what had been happening, because my dad had started chewing tobacco, as a lot of Indian men do, when he was 16 years old. So since he was 16 to about 2011, if I'm doing my math right, that's 1982 through 2011. So that's 18, about 40 years. Shout out to that UIC education for that math right there.
Man, you should have shout out your middle school at that point.
Yeah. 40 years of doing tobacco. I had finally caught up with him. His tongue was literally, and I so remember this image. It was when it's like you took your tongue and you split it down the middle with like a knife or something. Like it was starting to have a gap.
Yeah.
And that is when he thought, maybe I should go get this checked out. Not before then, not when it was hurting and he couldn't.
It just it corroded away, ate away.
It wouldn't. It literally, if you think about Play-Doh and you just take a piece of Play-Doh and you just cut it down the middle. Yeah, it was nasty, bro. But the funny thing is, before then, funny, not funny, haha, funny, ironic. The before then he was struggling to chew. He had to go from chewing on this side of his mouth to chewing on this side because it was hurting so damn much. And none of these times did he think, A, I need to go to the doctor, or two, B, see, shout out to that UIC education.
What is the doctor?
Right. Or B, hey, maybe I should stop doing tobacco. Now, mind you, up until this point, to the best of my ability, because growing up when you're 10, until you're like 11 or 12, you don't really know what you just know your dad's putting this in his mouth. You don't know it's harmful, whatever. Right? It's just a thing he does. So as I started to become more informed of what tobacco is and what it does to you, I tried talking to him. I was like, hey, Dad, probably shouldn't do this, blah, blah. And he had made it evident that he wasn't going to stop. And he made it even more evident as to how important tobacco was for him. He needed to start his day with it. He needed to have it at least 2 or 3 times in the middle and then end his night with it. To the point where he literally slept with it in his mouth and then would just wake up in the morning and spit it out.
Yeah,
that's disgusting. Relatable. Yeah, on so many different fronts. But that's the level of addiction he had to it.
Definitely seen that.
Yeah. Mom had even told him multiple times, I'm not gonna be here. I'm gonna leave you if you don't stop. Didn't matter. Obviously, she didn't leave, and that's probably partly why he didn't stop, because he probably knew she wasn't gonna leave, unfortunately. So come around to this point where his tongue's splitting down the middle, and he decides to go to the doctor. The doctor, of course, tells him, hey, this is probably cancerous. We're going to run some tests. Biopsy comes back positive. He has cancer. The doctor at that time said, hey, we need to operate right away. If we don't get this out of your mouth, it's going to spread. And so the annoying part of all of this, and I understand I am not the president, I am not an economical specialist, whatever. The annoying part of all of this was that we delayed his treatment by a little bit because we had to go to a facility that would cover either pro bono or give us a somewhat affordable medical plan. Because at that time, I wasn't controlling finances. Mom and Dad were. Yeah. We weren't as blessed then as we are now. So we didn't have access to the funding that we needed to go to even just a regular hospital. I'm not even talking Northwestern or something like super great. Just a normal hospital. We didn't have the funding. So we went to UIC Medical Center. UIC. And they decided to operate as quickly as they possibly could. They were going to take a case on pro bono, which, spoiler alert, ended up not being pro bono. But that's a problem for later, because it's not even the biggest problem. Do his surgery. And mind you, he's sitting, getting prepped for surgery. As he's sitting there, because they told him it's like about an hour and a half before the doctor's going to start.
No way.
In his mouth.
No way. Yeah. Seriously?
Yeah. He was like, this is going to be my last one. I might as well enjoy it. He's literally on a bed in a little area, like a prep room probably.
Yeah.
And he has his last tobacco.
Oh man, that is a full on, that is like classic Indian dad right there. Yeah. Oh my God.
It was fucked up.
Wow, my dad and your dad would be best friends.
They probably are.
No, legitimately.
Right now, they probably chilling.
Like that's wild. I thought.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he goes into this surgery. And what they basically did, and this is, I'm no medical expert, and also my memory's a bit faded. So from what I recall, what they basically did was basically cut off a majority of his tongue to cut off the cancerous cells and areas. Took some skin graft from, I think it was either his thigh or his back. I want to say it was his back. Yeah, I want to say it was his back. And they basically turned it into his new tongue. So they basically just took that and just like stuck it in there, whatever. When he gets out of surgery, he can't speak because he's got a really thick tongue, right? It's like he can't get words, so he's making sounds more than anything. And for context, listeners, I think we all feel this way about our dads in some way, shape, or form. Our dads are superheroes. They can do it all. They're not crying. They don't cry, especially Indian dads. They don't cry.
They don't cry.
They don't. You get one emotion, that's usually anger, and that's probably the most we get out of them.
Yeah. Nothing hurts them.
Nothing hurts them. They can handle everything. And then,
yeah.
you know, I'm being subjective here, but fuck, dude, my dad did it all. He ran a bunch of businesses. He helped out his entire family whenever they needed it, whether that was financial, physical, whatever that fucking looked like. He took it all on, man. There was no what are Asul's priorities. Asul's priorities were always his family. You know, me, mom, his brothers, their respective families, his parents. So seeing my dad coming out of the surgery room, I don't think it hit me when he was going into surgery. I was like, whatever. Like, I didn't understand the gravity of what was about to happen. I'm also in college, not at home. And I'm not seeing the day-to-day struggles that he's having because of this tongue. Because, of course, he's not letting me in. He's not telling me. So getting out of that surgery and hearing him be inaudible, making noises, that hit. That really, really hit. And it was so fresh that the first 3 days or so, what they would have to do is, because his tongue was so big, there would be saliva buildup. There would be blood coming out of the stitches areas and whatnot. It was an open wound, basically. So nurses would come in every 20, 30 minutes. They take like this thing that is supposed to go into your mouth and just, it's like a suction.
Yeah.
It's a little rubber tube, just sucks everything up, the saliva and the blood, every 20 or 30 minutes. And I will never forget this. I will never forget this till the day I die. That when it had gotten to a point where they came in so frequently that he looked at them, because he's barely getting any sleep at this point, right? There's machines going off. There's people coming in to talk to him and take temperature and vitals, and he was finally starting to fall asleep. And they came in, they did the suction again, and he turns to them. He turns to me because they weren't understanding him. He was hoping I would, and he puts his hands up at me and he goes like this, and he says, "Please." Like, I couldn't make out the words, but from what I gathered, he said, "Please tell them to stop. Like, I can't take this." And seeing, now mind you, it hurts hearing that, but it hurts hearing that when they're not even words, they're noises because of what he's just been through. It was like, and to see my dad put his hands together, basically begging for his life or begging for that time, that wasn't easy. That has always stuck with me, and I'll never forget that. That was the first couple of weeks for his first surgery, and recovery was not easy for him, because obviously he's got this big old tongue just sitting in there. It's going to take some time. We finally, after a few weeks, are able to bring him home. Now, in the middle, of course, I'm going to school. Mom and I are staying at the hospital basically every night with him. And that's the beautiful thing about, I don't think I've been around it enough to say that other cultures do it. So it's not me saying that other cultures don't do this. But I think it's really, really beautiful about our culture that when our family members in the hospital, maybe even to a fault, we're always with them. Right? People are staying over at night. We're propping up. We're putting chairs up. We're staying. We're not going anywhere. And it's even frustrating.
Just bringing food and stuff too. I mean,
yeah. I'm sure that's frustrating for the staff and honestly, like, could not. It's one thing that my wife is a nurse, so I have an even greater appreciation than I did before, but I cannot express the gratitude and the respect I have for healthcare workers enough. So I'm sure it was frustrating for the staff to have so many people come in and see my dad and bring food, and us having to set up basically an entire bedroom every fucking night to try and figure out who's staying and where to put them. Um, so those first 2 weeks were hard because you'd get people visiting the hospital, some people for the very first time, so they're shell shock. And what I'm basically doing when I'm there is I'm basically reliving that trauma when they see him for the first time, because they'll look at him, they'll break down. What happened? Why is this happening to you? What's going on? They'll start crying. My dad was very beloved in his family. Um, to this day, people still talk about him, and it's been 12 years. People still want to capture the essence of him in some way, shape, or form. So they'll bring up memories. I mentioned it in my letter where they'll tell me, like, you are exactly like your dad. And that is not a compliment to me. At least I don't take it that way. I take that as a compliment to him. Like, that's how much they want him back. And that's how much of an impact he left. So he was very beloved in his family, because he showed up for everyone. So those first 2 weeks weren't easy, to say the least. Um, Now, mind you, this is late 2011, early 2012. This is happening shortly after after my first semester, or excuse me, my first year of college. We got an apartment. Me, Shivam, and two other guys got an apartment at UIC. And it was after his first surgery. The doctors were very hopeful, and they were like, "Yeah, the cancer is probably gone. We'll test you again in 6 months. We'll see what happens." 6 months go by. I'm in my apartment. Dad's making numerous routine appointments back and forth. Him and mom both are commuting from where we lived in Hanover Park to the UIC Medical Center downtown almost daily. These guys would, fucking immigrant parents, man. There's no one stronger. These guys would wake up at fucking 4 a.m. in the morning, go to work together, work an entire 8, 10, 12-hour shift, and everything that came along with being a restaurant manager they would deal with. They would go from Lake Zurich, because my dad worked in Lake Zurich, my mom worked in Rolling Meadows at the time. They would go from there to the city and then come home. And that was their day. And for a year and a half, that was every single day or every other day for them. Follow-up appointments and whatnot. And I remember at the time, my dumbass, I would hear that they're coming around. And in the beginning, I was like, yeah, of course I want to be there, blah, blah. But after a few months, I was like, fuck, I really want to do me. Like, dad seems to be doing okay. Surgery's done. Like, why do I have to come to this appointment with you? Why? Like, I would rather be with my friends. You're doing okay. Why are you dragging me with you? And I wish I had some foresight. Obviously, hindsight's 2020, and I wish I could change some of that. But folks, we are here to be authentic and real, and I'm not going to shy away from that situation either.
Yeah, you were a teenager. I mean,
Yeah.
you were just thinking and being a teenager. I mean, that's not a knock. You know.
Yeah, it sure doesn't feel that way now, when
Yeah,
I know I
yeah.
could have had those extra hours, minutes, days with him. But I appreciate you saying that. Um,
I
fuck.
mean, I think even then, I, you know, I'm just gonna interject just for like a minute, right?
Go for it.
As you as you take a breath. So this is the first time I'm fully hearing about it, right? Your entire story with your dad. Thank you for being open enough to do this. This is insane. I think, yeah, I wish someone would have told you that at that time, to be quite honest. I know I'm telling you that now, and it kind of sits a little bit differently, but you deserve to know that then. And I hope eventually you get to the point of telling yourself, your teenage self, all the selves that carry with you, that because you were just a teenager. And sure, some people might handle it differently and think about it differently and do whatever, but everyone has their own way, and you were just being a teenager. And that's the craziest thing. If you're telling me that the hardest part was you saying I just wanted to hang out with my friends, I don't think even your dad, knowing from just hearing from what you're saying, would have been thinking anything of it except go hang out with your friends,
That
because you deserve to do that.
that is so true. And I'm gonna, at least the part that you mentioned about my dad, um, I'm gonna share a few other stories that will speak to that wholeheartedly. But I appreciate you saying that. Um, so we fast forward a little bit as he's going through these appointments. Um, I dropped out of school, and in the middle, actually, even before I dropped out, I had started working on the weekends at the very least with my dad, because just so we could bring in an extra income. And so every weekend I was home, I was working with him 4 a.m. through whatever. I was sleeping in the car till he got off of work, because we just had the one car between all three of us at that time. Or at the very least, even if I had a second car, he couldn't drive. He didn't want to drive. So I was up at 4 a.m. going to work with him on the weekends. And I just wanted to be clear, this isn't meant to be a story about feeling bad for me. Because at the end of the day, I'm still here. I'm alive. This is, yes, it's my journey, but it's more so just sharing what dad went through. And I just don't want this to be about me, even though it, I guess, has to do with me. I don't know. Anyway, I'm getting out of my own head here.
Yeah, do that. Just don't worry about it. We're here to talk about what we're here to talk about, so it's okay.
So I'm working with him on the weekends, and eventually, it's gotten to a point where it's pretty clear that he can't work anymore. He shouldn't be working anymore, and that actually happened because, ironically, this is the story. One of the stories I was going to bring up was like March. I think I'm pretty sure it was March. He passed away in June. Yeah, it was. I'm pretty sure it was March. Anyway, we get a call from the doctor at UIC that was the primary on his case, and she said, "Hey, can you guys all come in? We would like to chat about the results." They had recently taken a biopsy again to see and did a full checkup to make sure he's good. To set the stage here, before I get into the rest of it, Dad had become a shell of himself. He had lost damn near 40 pounds. This was a man who loved eating. He was a huge fucking foodie. Neo, you actually you say this a lot, and it reminds me of Dad every time you've said it. You say whenever you and RJ and your mom go out, or even if it's just you and RJ, whatever they don't eat, you eat, and that was
yeah.
Dad.
Yeah. Yeah.
Loved. There was no, I want it this way. I'd rather have it this way. He just loved food. He loved
Food.
life,
Yeah.
but in this
Yeah.
case, he loved fucking food, man.
The way you describe him, like, dude, I would love to just have a meal with him. I
He
think that would be
would,
just
oh
so
my
much
God, he
fun.
would have loved you. He
Yeah.
100% would have loved
Would
you.
just love to have a meal with the guy. Great.
Yeah. So he's a shell of himself, 40 pounds less. No, he loved his mustache too. Always had his mustache. Shaved that off. And he's going to all these appointments, drinking Ensure, because he just can't eat a lot. And that's his nutrition. So the man who's a huge foodie is now 40 pounds less, drinking Ensure, which is let's be real, doesn't have any kind of flavor. And you go from my mom's cooking to fucking Ensure, you're not happy. And I still remember this part of it because we were both working together. Doctor calls my mom calls me. She says, hey, we need to go over there. And at this point, my dad was not working. I was at the Dunkin' Donuts that he used to work at, and they actually made me the manager there to just take over for him. And I went to my boss and I said, hey, I need to leave early today. The doctor called and they'd like to talk about Dad's results. And he's like, oh, is everything okay? Now, in my last episode, I mentioned to you that, or in our last episode, I mentioned to you and to the listeners that one of my biggest character flaws used to still slash sort of is, but definitely way more apparent before, is I would lie a lot. I used to lie to get anything I wanted and manipulate situations. So when he asked me, hey, what's going on? Like, why do you need to leave today? At this stage, the doctor hadn't told us anything. But I said to him, pretty sure Dad's cancer is back. That's why they want to talk to us, so I gotta go. The doctor hadn't told us, but I knew I needed to say something that would make him okay with me leaving. So I said that. So Mom comes and picks me up with Dad. And at this point, I think my Dad's parents, my grandparents, were living with us as well to help take care of Dad. So they came. It was me, my mom, Dad, and my grandparents. We all go to the hospital. We all sit down, and they said, cancer's back. And they said, at this stage, it's spread down to his stomach area, and that there's nothing that they can see anymore doing except for just letting him ride it out. Now, what's really important here is they also gave the option to perform a second surgery. And I think I'm mixing up my timeline a little bit, so I'm going to, forgive me, I'm going to backtrack just a bit. Before we had this meeting, they also detected the cancer before this a second time. He had another surgery. This was right after the first surgery. This was like, I think 6 months after the first surgery. They didn't perform chemo or radiation after the first surgery. They said, let's see how this goes, and we'll go from there. He had to have a second surgery because it started spreading down to his throat. So they basically had to open up his throat, and they took this time skin from his thigh, put it here. So after the surgery, this man now looks dark brown here, light brown here from his thigh. He almost looks like a fucking robot, man. Like Frankenstein almost. It's just different parts of him put together. It's fucked up. So that was after the second surgery. And this time they did recommend the chemo and radiation. And that's where a lot of that weight loss came from. So, and this is why I'm really glad that I remembered this, because my wires were mixed up a little bit. So this entire process took a year and a half between his first surgery to basically when he passed. When he had his first surgery, 6 months in, he had to get a second one. Had the skin graft here from his thigh. And he's sick of it at this point. I mean, multiple surgeries, chemo, radiation, over and over again. Like you start asking yourself, is it really worth it to even live when you're living like this? Right?
Going in and out of those things, no way.
Yeah,
that's harsh. That's harsh on your body for sure.
Harsh on, I mean,
and your mind. Like
up until I'd say about 5 months before he passed, he was working. So he had these surgeries and he was still working.
Yeah, that's nuts.
He'd take some time off, like a few weeks here and there between surgeries and whatnot, but he was working. And fuck, dude, the thing that pisses me off the most, especially when I'm thinking about it right now, is like, what the fuck? Why was he working? Like, obviously to pay the bills. Shit, I feel more hopeless now than I did then. because I was in school. So I was disconnected from the day to day. I was there when they came over, like when they'd come and pick me up and take me to the appointments, I'd go, I'd see it, I'd hear about it on the phone, but I didn't see it as much. And I was now that I'm thinking about it now, I'm just fucking pissed, man. Like fuck. Wish I had like dropped out sooner. Wish I so many different things. Obviously, it's written the way it's written. It ended the way it ended for a reason, and I don't have control over that. I wish I did, but we have this second surgery, go through chemo and radiation, and that's when we're told in March he has 6 months to live at most. We're on our way home from this appointment, and we're all quiet. I mean, what the fuck do you say when you've just been told someone you love, right? His parents, their son has just been told. My mom, her husband's just been told, and for me, my dad has just been told. My best friend, one of my fucking heroes, has just been told I have 6 months with him. What the fuck do I say? What do I do? How do we handle this? It's a very, very quiet ride home. By the time we make it home, my mom's parents were also living with us, and they had already heard about it. So we get home, and my mom's dad immediately embraces my dad. He hugs him, and he starts crying. Why is this happening? Blah, blah. And my dad hugs him, made some joke, and started laughing. Probably along the lines of like, yeah, we all got to go sometime. I'm going before. I'll make sure everything's set for you guys, or some shit like that he would say. And he started laughing. And I'm just like, what the fuck, dude? Like, you're being told you got 6 months left, maybe, and you out here consoling him. So I go upstairs, I take a shower, and I bawled so hard in the shower alone. Sneak peek into one of our future episodes. I cried so much in that shower because when we left that appointment and they said he has 6 months to live, they gave us, of course, they left the door open for a little bit of hope and said, if you allow us to continue to chemo and radiation and keep him here in the hospital, we will do the best we can, and hopefully we can figure it out. And I really wish they didn't leave the door open, but they did. And when I was in the shower that day, I remember crying to myself and thinking, this is it. Like, I know they left the door open. These are the last moments I'm going to have with him. I came down from the shower and I tried my best to pull an asul, I'm going to call it. Try to be happy, try to be strong for everyone. And that night we were just watching TV. We were watching basketball, actually. And he was sitting next to me. I was sitting on the long sofa. He was sitting on the single sofa. And I looked at him. And I lost it. I couldn't keep it together anymore. I literally looked at him and I was like, I don't know if I'm going to see you again tomorrow, even at this point. So I hugged him and I cried. I cried so much. And all he did that entire time was just console me. He held me and he made me feel better. And that's it. Like this, again, this is the man who's been told that he has 6 months to live, maybe. And he's consoling me. He's consoling my mom's dad. He's consoling my mom. He's consoling his own parents. And, whomever else he had came across.
It's crazy how that works, isn't it?
Yeah. After
he
this,
accepted it.
Huh?
Said it's like he accepted his own fate and understood it for himself, but it's so hard for all the people around him. Wow.
Well, we didn't want to let him go.
Well, yeah.
Beautiful man, beautiful soul.
At least he's portraying that, projecting that. So, yeah.
And he just wasn't afraid of death. Or if he was, he didn't show it. Shit. So after he's been told, he goes in and out of the hospital a few times. And the very last time he was in the hospital, it was a little bit of an extended stay. They kept trying to treat his symptoms. And then they gathered us up one day and said, this was, I think, April, maybe May. And they said to us, hey, we can't do anything more for him. At this stage, he's not responding to the treatment. Cancer's still spreading. Keeping him here is just going to make it worse. We suggest that you take him home and just let him ride out his days. Now, as a 19-year-old who hasn't had to go through something similar, go through that as closely as I did, I didn't know what that meant. I remember my uncle, my dad's older brother, he immediately understood what that meant. And I remember him being very upset. And I'm just like in my head, I was like, dude, they're sending him home. That's great. Like that's good. They'd only be sending him home if he's okay. Why else would they send him home? Like, isn't that how healthcare works? And then it sunk in because they explained it to me. And my uncle asked the question. He was like, so you're sending him home with hospice? Because they said, we're sending him home with hospice. We're going to make sure he's comfortable at home. I'm like, fuck yeah. Like, dad doesn't have to deal with all the bullshit here. Take care of him at home. He's going to be okay. He's going to get the same care. And my uncle asked, like, is that your way of saying you guys are giving up on him? And she's like, yeah. And that's when it hit me. Like, fuck. Even the doctors are like, this is done. So we bring him home, doing everything. Like, we had a dog at the time. Her name was Maxie. And Maxie loved dad. I mean, I can't think of many people who didn't love my dad, but Maxie loved dad. Every night she slept right on his leg, and she did not leave his side. You could not even get close to my dad without Maxie being like, who the fuck are you and why are you here? But she also, the breed that she was, she shed a lot. So we got our entire house carpeting ripped up, wood floor put down. I still don't even remember how the fuck we even afforded it with what was going on. But we did. Brought him home. They gave us like a nice hospital bed to put him in so that he has the flexibility of like moving up and down. And I distinctly remember one of these nights saying to myself, I don't know how much longer I'm going to have with him, but I'm going to try to do my best to make every minute count. And every single day was the same for me for a good while there. Go to work, come home, and take care of dad. And I'm going to take just a minute pause here for myself. So I think I left off with dad's home. He's got his bed for him that they decided to give us. And while he's at home, because of the growing cancer, the nurse only comes like once a week, maybe. But the rest of the days, she taught me how to attend to his wound. He had what they tried to do while he was in the hospital was try to remove more of those cancer cells. So they made like a little incision, or like a pretty decent sized hole here, actually. And I think they went through there to get to the cancer cells. So that had to be changed out and attended to. So what I'd have to do is literally take gauze, push it in there, put a bandage over it, and then wrap some medical tape around it to just hold it in place. And this was daily.
Yeah.
And it smelled really, really bad. Like, it was an open wound.
Rotting flesh,
Rotting flesh,
essentially.
exactly.
Yeah.
It smelled really bad. So that was every day. Go to work, come home, attend to his wounds, and I guess more than anything, just balance shit. Right? I had to make sure, like, at that point, I was the man in the house, quote unquote.
Right.
Dad was still there, but he wasn't. Like, I'm the one going to work. I have to then quickly learn. All right, here's how we pay our car bill. Here's how much we owe every month. Here's how we budget. Here's where our bank accounts are. Here's who has access to it. Excuse me. And it was a lot to, at 19, to pick all that up and figure out, basically just turn into the 40-year-old man who's sitting in front of me basically withering away. I had to turn into him to pick up the pieces. And there came a point where I was struggling I was struggling with my responsibility of it, because everyone else around me, everyone my age, was out at school having fun, or traveling, or just basically doing everything and anything that they wanted to do.
Yeah.
And here I was having to figure out what the hell, like, my life had turned into. And I remember I'd grown distant from most of my friends, and I was angry. I was very angry. I was like, y'all don't get it. Y'all are blessed. Like, you don't have this in your life. You don't have to go through this. Your dad's totally fine. Like, what the fuck? Why is this happening with me? All the victim mentality kicked in. All the anger, all the frustration just started kicking in. And I distinctly remember one night, it was it was when Doom 3 was shooting in Chicago. And Amir Khan was here, and my friend Shivam called me, and he was like, "Hey, like, we're gonna go see him. We're gonna go, like, say what up to him, maybe take some pictures with him." And I was like, "Fuck,
man.
dude, that sounds awesome. Like, I want to go." And I went up to my mom and I was like, "Hey, I really want to go to this. Like, it's at 9 or 10 o'clock at night, whatever the fuck, like, they're going." And she was like, "No, like, we need you at home. Like, you can't go." And I was like, "Dude, like, you guys are probably gonna be sleeping. Dad's probably gonna be sleeping. Like, what the fuck? Why can't I go?" She's like, "You gotta, take care of his wound. You got to give him some meds and whatnot." And at this stage, it's also, I didn't mention this earlier, but like, he could no longer swallow, so they had a GI tube in his stomach. So he basically had this tube coming out of his stomach, so we could feed nutrition into him. And
Feed him. Yeah,
like, mom would make khichdi, she'd blend that shit up so much, and we'd take a syringe and we'd put it in the G tube, and that's how he ate for the better of 3 months. So she's like, you gotta help me with this. Like, I can't do it on my own tonight. I can't do it on my own, period. But that specific night. And I was mad. I was so mad. I was like, all of my friends get to go see him. They get to do all these things. Why the fuck can't I have a night off? So I was mad that night. And there was another opportunity, not to see Amir Khan, but like, I was dating that same girl at the time and wanted to go see her. It was a different day. Luckily, Dad was sort of up and about during this time. I was like, Mom, and this was during the day, so she was like, all right, go. Like, go see your girlfriend. And I remember fighting with her, with them, like, how long am I supposed to put my life on hold? Like, what the fuck? We don't know what's going on when things are going to happen. Like, I want to go see her. So I went to go see her. And I will never, this is another thing I won't forget. I came home and Mom was cooking in the kitchen. Dad's standing in the kitchen. He has black sweatpants on, the Adidas, like, black pants with white stripes on. He has a plaid brown shirt, green, red, and white stripes going down. And dude, he probably weighs like at most 100 pounds. And still can't speak properly. He looks at me after I got home. And he gave me a hug. He just hugged me. Didn't even say anything, just hugged me. And I was like, "You okay, Dad?" And I used to call him Big Guy. That was my nickname for him. Like, "You okay, Big Guy?" And he's holding me and he's like, "I missed you." And I was like, "Fuck." Like, obviously I didn't like it. The gravity of it didn't sit with me in the moment. But I was like, first of all, my dad saying he missed me is also wasn't common either. So that in itself was surprising. That he said he missed me, and I was like, "I missed you too, man." And that's the last time I remember hugging him. That's the last time I remember honestly, even having a conversation with him, as much as that was a conversation. And shortly after that, whether it was the cancer, the meds, because he was on a shit ton of fucking pain meds, he started to lose comprehension. He didn't know who I was. He couldn't control basic body function, so he'd soil himself out of nowhere. He, at one point, I remember he tried to make it to the bathroom, and now, to set the stage, this man can't speak. He's 100 pounds. He also doesn't know what he's doing half the time anymore. So when he got up frantically from the couch to try and go to the bathroom, which was like 10 steps away, I got concerned. And I was like, "What's going on?" Because he was throwing up a lot. And he went into the bathroom to try and pee. And he didn't know where to pee. So I was trying to help him. I was trying to move him. And I was like, I'm trying to hold him so that he can pee. And he didn't know who I was. He didn't know what I was doing. So he got defensive, physically got defensive. So he like started pushing me. He slams the door, shut. He pees, opens the door. And I'm like, "Dad, I was just trying to help you." He doesn't know who I am, and he pushes me and holds me by my neck right here against the wall. Now, he's not being abusive towards me. He's defending himself in his mind. And he looked at me and he was like, "I don't know who you are, but don't come at me," kind of thing. And it hurt probably even more because I looked in his eyes and I could tell like he didn't know who I was. He had no clue who he was looking at. He had no clue. He was just looking at his sons in the eyes, and he had no idea who I was. And it was that week, actually. I remember the morning, because the routine was the same. We slept downstairs on the couches because my dad flip flopped from like the bed's uncomfortable to wanting to sleep on the couch and vice versa. So we slept downstairs, and at like 3:00 in the morning, mind you, my amazing mother, strongest woman I know, is still going to work through all of this every day because we gotta pay the bills. So she's going to work at 2-3 o'clock in the morning, working the early shift at Dunkin', getting home as soon as possible, dealing with Dad, making all the food, dealing with everyone coming over and making food for when they come over. Her own emotional state, about to lose her husband that she doesn't even know what to do with, and going to work. And also putting up with a 19-year-old who did not have his priorities straight. So she wakes up at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, and Dad was her. She had this thing she had a routine with Dad. She'd sit with him for like 30 minutes before she went up to shower. That was like their thing for months. They'd just sit together for 30 minutes, and then she'd go shower and go to work. She sits with him, and at the end, he's like, "Hey, I'm in pain. Like, I don't feel right." So she wakes me up, and she's like, "Hey, I got to go shower. Can you please give Dad his medicine? He's not feeling well." Like, okay, cool. 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the morning, I wake up, give him his morphine, and I go back to bed. And I wake up maybe an hour or so later after mom came down. She starts screaming. She's like, I'm gonna like get up, get up, get up. And I'm like, what the fuck happened? And she's like, I don't know what's going on with him. And vividly remember this. Dad was on the couch. His hands were out, both of them, like this, like he was reaching for something. And he was gasping. And his eyes were wide open. So he's basically like this. And he's gasping. And then he stops. And that's it. He was holding mom's hand, gasping. And that was it. He's gone within 5 seconds of me waking up, basically. So my mom called my uncle. They all rushed over. And we still didn't want to believe it, or we didn't really know it, even though we did. They all came over, and she was like, "Is he gone?" And like my uncle put his finger right under his nose. He wasn't breathing anymore. He's like, "Yeah, I think he's gone." Then starts the whole process, right? The coroner comes in. The official time of death, 4:23 a.m. And then we just made phone calls, letting everyone know he's no longer here. And that was the day it happened.
Wow. Wow. Thank you for sharing that. Like I said, it's the first time I'm hearing it fully. So that could not have been easy whatsoever, obviously. But thanks for like saying it, truth, like full on. That's very. Sitting here, I know I can just be like, I was literally enthralled and living it with you, and that terrified me, to be quite honest, on the inside. So, um, can only imagine. Like, I want to hug you. No, and like legitimately, I want to hug you. I wish I could. Um, man, just I can, sitting here listening to you, all I could think about was that kid, um, needing a hug as well. And yeah, I mean, we empathize with the people who are going through the pain. It's harder to empathize with the people that are seeing someone go through the pain, like being the quote unquote shoulder that someone has to hold on to,
Yeah.
Dang,
Yeah,
bro. I
it was funny because I think that that cry I had in the shower and that cry I had in his lap. That was it. After he passed, I don't even remember crying. Funny enough, I don't remember crying with anyone. And I know we touch on that later, but every single time I've cried since, to a point, was by myself. And I went straight into survival mode. I went into, all right, we got to coordinate the funeral. I got to get this ready for the funeral. All right, I got to get this ready for the bar mutermu, whatever rituals we got to do after he's passed. All right, we got to get this, picture out there to get printed. It was, yeah. And it's funny enough, my friend Shivam always tells me this. He says, whenever I feel uncomfortable, whenever I'm feeling anxious, I throw myself into an activity or into something that I can latch onto that removes me from that situation. And that is so funny. Disassociation, I think it is. Maybe, I don't know. I'm not smart enough to know these things.
Something like that though.
But that's what I did, and that was part of my coping. I found something else to distract me. Whether that was coordinating this, coordinating that, getting that ordered, taking care of this, like all of that was how I dealt with it. I never talked to mom. Never ever did I talk to my mom about my feelings ever. I was there for mom whenever she needed to talk, and she I know she needed to talk. She loved dad, and they, not gonna say they had a perfect marriage, but they loved each other. They actually loved each other. Not the arranged marriage. We're gonna make this work for each other for the kids bullshit. They actually loved each other. So
they grew into loving one another.
Yeah, they really did.
Yeah.
They really, really did. So when she needed to talk, I was there.
Yeah. I want to touch on a few points if you're okay with that.
Absolutely.
I want you to keep going with what you need to as well, but do want to touch on a few points because I feel for that kid, right? I feel for your dad, for your mom, but I feel for that kid more so. When you found out the news, and I think I know what the answer is going to be, but I want to know more, right? So when you found out the news the first time, the very first time, what was, and you may not remember it or whatnot, but if you can think back, what did you feel? What did you go through? And did anyone tell you that, yeah, this sucks and it's not okay, and your dad put up the consoling part, awesome, right? But I'm sure you felt, you can talk on it, but I'm sure you felt very, like, of course, pissed off, angry that, angry at your dad, I'm sure. But yeah, did anyone tell you, like, hey, it's okay that you're angry, and or however you're feeling, and anyone ask just at that initial, when you first found out?
First found out that he has 6 months, or that he has cancer.
That he had cancer.
To this day, I don't think anyone knows how to react to cancer.
I agree with that. Yeah. It's called the big C for a reason, obviously. So,
and so I think my friends, I know my friends were there for me. I know the support system was there. Do I think, was I allowed, rather, to let my emotions out? I think I was allowed. I don't think, one, I know for a fact I didn't, but two, I didn't feel like I felt like no matter who I talked to, no one was ever going to actually understand it. No one was actually going to get it. That, let's, even putting the big C aside for a second, like, I think I was surrounded by people. I'm not going to use the word rich, because I don't think that rich is appropriate. But I think we were definitely surrounded by folks who were much more successful than we were. My parents threw themselves in some businesses that didn't work out for them financially. They didn't give them the returns they were looking for, and they had losses more often than not. So they weren't successful in their businesses. They were working laborious jobs that didn't necessarily amount to a lot. They were working for Indian owners that didn't necessarily care to promote them or give them the benefits they needed. So for my friends around me who were already there was already a disconnect in terms of what my life looks like and what your life looks like. But I think that was expected, right? That's normal. You go
Yeah.
anywhere, you throw whatever, throw group of 10 people together, their backgrounds are going to look completely different. That's no one's fault and no one's nothing. But then you throw in the big C, and all of a sudden that distance just gets so much bigger.
Mm.
Because now not only are we talking about social, economical, and all these differences, societal differences, we're now also talking about life differences, like the fragility of life at that. Like even to this day, there are friends of mine who like still say to me, "I cannot imagine having gone through what you went through at your age, having lost my dad."
Yeah. I can't. As I was hearing it, I cannot. I can, the way you talk about it, the way you described it, the way you told it, you know, I can sit in it with you and viscerally kind of feel. I can only do that. And my imagination can only take me
So far,
to a certain
yeah.
extent. Yeah. But like, yeah, if I was in your shoes, I don't know if I could have even remotely handled it like you talked about it, to be quite
I think
honest,
that's the beautiful thing
at that age
about about people. I think we step up when we need to,
when we
when we're
need
asked
to.
to.
Yeah.
I think we're all capable of it. And that's again not being able to connect to my friends was no one's fault. It was no one's fault. It wasn't their fault, and they shouldn't have to apologize for the situations they were in, and I would never ever ever wish ill on them. But your question of did I feel like I could connect to people and let it out?
No, you felt
I
alone.
felt alone.
Yeah.
I felt because no one was gonna get it, man. That's
Yeah. That's fair. Now, 6 months, you find out that news. Very vividly talk about crying in the shower. What what was going on like through you physically, emotionally? What do you remember? I mean, it's hard to remember, obviously. It's been a while, so I'm not like trying to put you
I
on the
get it.
spot or but do you remember what thoughts were going on, what your feelings were? Of course, the emotional sadness and all that, but was it anxiety? Did your mind run?
What I thought about, because I still think about it. So back in 2008, 3 years prior to any of this going down, my cousin got married. You met him, Chintan, but he's got the little
Mm-hmm.
Risha who is
Mm-hmm.
my little shadow. Love that girl. Um, he got married, and Chintan was he plays such a big part in my life and still does such a huge part. He lived with us for about 3 or 4 years, actually maybe more than that, even definitely more than that. So him and I had gotten really close, and when his wedding came around, he asked my dad to give a speech at the reception. My dad was basically the proxy for his dad, who was in India at the time and still is. So because he lived with us, he got close to my dad, obviously, and dude, it was not hard to get close to my dad. It was he's such an easygoing guy. I just loved everyone. So he uh, he asked my dad to give a speech at the reception, and my dad gave just the he wasn't the best at English. I'm not saying he was terrible, but he wasn't the best. So he gave like this broken English, half Gujarati, half English speech, but he loved music. He loved dancing. So anytime there was a performance, he would bring out his Amitabh Bachchan moves. He would anytime I'm like, because we've done performances right in the family for family weddings, and he's like, "You should do this move," and it's always the same goddamn Amitabh Bachchan move that he'd always suggest. Um, so in that moment when I was in the shower, what I thought about was he's not at my wedding. He's not gonna be there dancing. He's not gonna be there giving a speech. He's not gonna be there for my kids and spoil them and tell them all the stupid ass stories about their dad. He's not. He's. I started thinking about all the things that he wasn't going to be there for, all the firsts, all the seconds, all the everythings that he wasn't going to be there for.
Yeah, that makes sense. Now I don't know fully the 7 stages of grief, right? That's what's out there. I know that there's 7 stages apparently. I don't know them fully.
So they say.
That's what they say. Obviously, there's no timeline on it, right, whatsoever. The way you described that just now, do you think you started grieving 6 months prior to him being gone?
Yeah.
Like actually gone, because in your mind you already knew
This was it.
right?
Yeah.
That's tough, man. You're 20 years old, 19, 20 years old.
19. He was there for my very last birthday in May.
Oh, yeah.
And I remember how pissed off I was that we even had a birthday party because I was like, I don't even want to. What the fuck am I celebrating? My last birthday with him. But yeah, at 19, I started grieving. That moment, that time in the shower,
Yeah.
was me beginning to grieve, and it was also the beginning of me grieving by myself.
Mm-hmm. When you came downstairs and you heard your dad laughing, right? Essentially trying to make light of it all. As I'm sure many people have done with cancer. I again can't speak on it myself personally, but I'm sure there have been a lot of people that have kind of done that, tried to make light of it, obviously for their surrounding, for their environment, for the people around them, closest to them, and who they love, right? Did that piss you off? And I asked that because to me, like if I was in your shoes and I heard that, I know me very well and I would be like very angry. I wouldn't have gotten it at that age. That's why I asked. So did you get it at that age of like what he was trying to accomplish by trying to make light of it, not just obviously for himself, but for everyone around you?
I think
Because it's okay to be pissed.
Yeah.
I mean, I will wholeheartedly say at 19, 20 years old, I would have been fucking livid if I heard that and then I see that. I would have just been absolutely livid, knowing what I know now about myself. That's why I asked that. That's from my
I get it.
place of feeling for that kid.
I don't think I was mad at him for his reaction. I think at that stage, I knew who my dad was. I knew what he was trying to do. And I wasn't at all surprised that he was out there consoling people when he was the one who had every right to be upset. None of that surprised me. I was pissed that he didn't give that shit up when we told him to.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's pretty evident of that, right? Yeah. That would make.
When I found out that he had 6 months, that angry part of me was like, you fucking did this. You created this. Funny enough, I mentioned this in the last episode. I don't look at pictures of my dad. I just don't. There's plenty of pictures up in the house of dad, and I'll be 1,000% honest with you. I don't even know where they are. I have to really think about where they are. But the funniest thing, the most ironic thing, because it just happened literally as I'm speaking right now, on my computer speaker, I have that.
A picture of him.
I have a little picture of him. This is Bank of America used to do debit cards where they would put a picture of you in the corner. They thought it would be more secure so that they, the person using the card can match it up easily, like an ID.
Yeah.
I didn't even fucking remember I had this right in front of me.
There you go. Divine intervention. Asshole intervention. Asshole uncle. Yeah. Good looking out.
Yeah.
Wow. The next point I want to kind of dive into, if you're okay with this as well, is when he hugged you after you told the part. I'm again kind of can understand this, but you're 20 years old. You wanted to meet Amir Khan. I mean, who wouldn't? You also just wanted to be a 20-year-old, right? When your dad hugged you, I'm sure part of you felt guilty. Right? I'm assuming, right? Did you hold that? Did you hold that guilt of, I just wanted to do this, and this guy's just sitting here saying, I missed you, and he just wanted some time and an understanding, and then obviously a few days later, it happened. Did it come back around to feeling the guilt, and what was that whole process? I guess because I'm assuming, knowing you, I know that there's going to be that, especially when you were telling it. But what was the process for you like when you dealt with the guilt? Because everyone has it, right? I think everyone has it. That might be one of the stages. Again, sorry guys, I don't know, and I'm sorry to you too. I wish I would have looked that up beforehand. I don't know the 7 stages. I know anger is definitely one of them, and I could easily look it up. We're on a computer right now, but I think guilt is one of them. So
I think there's anger, guilt, negotiation, acceptance, obviously being the last one.
It's funny. People know that we're on a computer if they see us, so I don't know why we can't just look at it. Okay. Shock, denial, anger, bargaining, depression, reconstruction, and acceptance. Those are the 7, right? Bargaining, I'm assuming, is the guilt. You're kind of going in and out of it. You feel bad, you understand, all that stuff. Yeah. So what was going through your mind, I guess, in that instance of, well, yeah, I wanted to go do this. And then, of course, your dad's missing you. You were telling him you're missing him. You're telling him, you're showing the front of, yeah, I miss you. Internally, though, you wanted to be there. You wanted to go just be a normal teenager.
Yeah. You know how they say ignorance is bliss?
Isn't it?
It is. And in that moment, in those moments, it was. And the easiest way to say that is to say that on any given day, it was worse or better. So one day could be like, I could wake up today and he's not feeling the best, and that day is just terrible. And it's usually that day that mom comes to me and she's talking to me about her feelings and how she feels about this. And so I know for a fact I'm in it that day. I'm feeling it that day. So that day, someone asked me to hang out, I think I can pretty easily say no, right? And because I can feel it. On certain other days, I didn't feel it as much. Again, I'm not the one with the cancer, so I'm not feeling the day-to-day knots and pains and burns and everything that he's feeling right now. What I am feeling day-to-day is, fuck, I got another day of this. Fuck, got another day of this. Fuck, I got to change out this gauze again. Fuck, there's another thing I couldn't go to that my friends are going to. So I think that particular day, that Amir Khan day, was one of those days where it wasn't that bad. That day, those few hours leading up to it, wasn't that bad. And so I'm just like, this idea is brought to me, hasn't been that bad. All right, let me go. Right? What could possibly happen in the next 2 hours while I'm gone that could be so bad that I shouldn't go? So you asked me how I dealt with that guilt of when I came home and he said, I missed you. I think
And
that's
again, let me preface this. I'm not saying you should be
yeah,
guilty.
yeah,
I'm not putting
I
judgment
get
on
it.
that. I know you very well. So for anyone out there also listening to that and just like, oh, this guy's just putting judgment on you, I'm not putting judgment on him. I think knowing you, I know you felt guilty. We would feel that we kind of feel similarly. So I know like that had to have crossed your mind at some point. So I just want, you know, to dive
Yeah,
a little bit into that.
I would never take it as judgment, so
No, I
don't
know you
worry.
wouldn't.
Um,
I know you wouldn't.
but that being said, um, the truth of the matter is, I never dealt with that guilt.
Yeah, that was going to be my lead in. It was, do you still feel
Yes,
guilty?
yes. I feel guilty for every minute that I didn't spend with him that I could have.
Mm.
Obviously, again, hindsight, all of that. I have that, the unfortunate opportunity to have a hindsight that I can now say, I wish I spent every waking minute with him. And the fucked up part of it all is, it's not like I didn't know what was coming. The doctors clearly told us. They sent him home on hospice. Excuse me. With the way he was deteriorating, the writing was on the fucking wall. So it's not like I didn't know that I wasn't going to have him for long. But one of my biggest character flaws has always been short term gain. I've always been someone who jumps at the opportunity for something short term because I'm not thinking long term. I think I've done a better job of that lately. But especially as a 19, 20-year-old kid, yeah, no, short term is all I was thinking. In that moment, I wanted to get away from everything that was happening at home and enjoy myself and feel like a normal 19, 20. You know the fucking hilarious part? I remember having this conversation with Nerali, and we were talking about what 20-year-olds or what the 20s look like right now.
Yeah.
And I was just like,
Yeah.
the fuck is wrong with these kids? Like I was like this old ass uncle, right? Like I'm like, the fuck is wrong with these kids? They're like they're
Yeah.
fucking 25, 26. They don't know what the fuck they're doing with their lives. They got no responsibility,
Right,
no
right.
care in the
You
world, nothing, right?
you're going based off of what your
Yeah.
experience was with it.
And
Yeah,
Raleigh
yeah.
was like, Ahmed,
What a
that's a
normal
normal
20.
20. That's the normal
Yeah.
20s. Like you don't know what the fuck you're doing. Maybe the 30s is when you try to figure your shit out, but in the 20s you're
Sometimes
just
not
being a
even.
complete fucking moron.
Mhm.
And it hit me then. I was like, fuck. I got this fucked up lens that I'm looking at shit through. And let's be honest, I'm judging people based on this broken ass lens where I'm looking
No.
at it like, fuck, at 20, I was the man of the goddamn house at 20, paying bills, making sure cars don't get taken away, dealing with debts, uncovering debts that I didn't even know about while maintaining all these emotions. That was 20 for me.
Yeah. Here's what I hope you realize. And for anyone that even kind of sits in your shoes as well realizes is that you're not judging anybody. I mean, I think you know this. I think you were judging yourself, right? You were judging how your 20s were.
Mm,
You were because you feel guilty still to this day,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
You were judging yourself in terms of, well, why didn't I get to do that? I was 22, you know, you were comparing, so it wasn't your judgment on them. It was more so you placed it on yourself because of what you had to do, what you had to go through, or,
Maybe
you
it's
know,
the other J, not judgment, but jealousy.
jealousy. Yeah, I mean it's all, but
Yeah,
it's wrapped into it,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
Jealousy, envy
yeah.
comes with the territory of it all. But, you know, and
May I have your attention, please? Reese Coy, please come to the main service desk. Reese Coy. Thank you.
Reese, get your ass up there, buddy.
right, awkward. But what you don't know is like I again, this is 12 years down the road and you still feel it, right? So there is no timeline for the grief. There is no certain aspect where it should go away or you should feel certain things or well, now I'm through this and I should be okay. None of that crap,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
You still feel what you feel. you still feel judgmental towards that 20-year-old as well.
Absolutely.
If you're feeling guilty,
Absolutely.
right?
Absolutely. You know, part of what I want to share as we're nearing the end here, part of what I want to share is, one, I really hope that no one has to ever go through anything like this. But the reality of life is that it's probably going to happen. It's probably happening as we speak. Someone, somewhere, somehow, someone's passing away. Someone else is picking up the pieces. It's just reality. I think my biggest takeaway, 12 years into this, and after all the healing that I've tried to do, grieving that I've semi-done, is there isn't anything anyone can take away from this journey. Whether it's your partner, your friends, your parents, or whomever, cannot take away any of the pain. It's going to sit with you. You're going to have to deal with it. It is going to be your choice whether you want to deal with it right away, 12 years later, 15 years later, whenever, right? But as much as I'd love to sit here and say that even if my friends were at my house every goddamn day, sitting right there in front of me, it wouldn't have made things easier. I might have had more people to talk to or thought I could talk to, but it wasn't going to take away from the fact that I still needed to go to work. It wasn't going to take away from the fact that I still needed to put in the work, go to school, etc., to get to where I'm at now. And I think if I can give any advice to anyone out there, it's that grief isn't an overnight process. It's not a sprint. It's barely a marathon. I mean, I can't even think about something longer in this sports analogy right now. It's a, you know what it is? It's a fucking cricket test match on fucking loop, on a loop, on an endless loop. That's what grief is. Those test matches, they don't fucking end, man. It's on a loop, and so
I mean, it's 5 days.
that's why I said loop. It just keeps going and going and going. Yeah, it doesn't necessarily have an end to it. So if you're looking for somehow a way to skip to the end of anything, whether that's grief or any other negative emotion, just know you really do have to go through it to get through it.
Yeah, I agree. And I think you're a testament to understanding, like, I hope you can understand this part, and I know you will. I know you do. Let's say that. And it's everyone gets to grieve how they're supposed to. There is no right way or wrong way or pretty way. It could be as ugly as you possibly can have it. And I appreciate you sharing the ugliness of the day. I appreciate you sharing what you were going through. I think that's why I wanted to ask that and pointed it, because I want you to, like, be able to see that, to hear it, in terms of, like, you're still feeling guilty 12 years down the road to a person that was 20. And to be quite honest, they were just 20. They were just trying to be a 20-year-old. At any stage in life, like, you're just trying to be who you are and what you're doing. And all you can do is that. Like, there is no right way or wrong way. And you are a testament to understanding, like, you still are kind to yourself. And I want to acknowledge that for you. Like, you still are very kind to yourself, even if you do have those moments of feeling guilty and feeling grief and feeling angry about those things, even feeling sad. You are very kind to yourself and allowing yourself to do those things, and you've learned that, and it's a very good thing. I don't think people do that enough, right? Take it from me. I know I don't do that enough, and I'm learning that process, but you are a very good testament to understanding that. You do a great job of that, like being kind to yourself because, and it's sometimes you forget to do that. And here's a daily reminder of being kind to that person, because you were 20, your dad, you were so good to talk about your dad in such a light way, even if you were, angry with him doing what he did and how he went about it. You understand in such an empathetic way, and for yourself, you're very hard on yourself. But and I hope you can testify to that, to what I'm saying, because I know you obviously, but I hope you can tell. I hope you can say it out loud in that part of like being kind to yourself, because you deserve that. Even now, anytime, even thinking back on it, like you deserve to be kind to that 20-year-old kid, because again, he was just a kid. You deserve to be kind to the 32-year-old man that is angry at that 20-year-old kid for, thinking the way he did and wishing that this time it wasn't me.
That was me. Sorry,
No,
continue.
you're good. You're good. I hope you can be kind to, you're a 32-year-old man, understanding that it's okay for that 20-year-old kid to feel like that. And then I hope you can give yourself the grace of being a 32-year-old man being angry at that 20-year-old kid for, thinking not long term, as you put it. The funniest part is life is like that, isn't it? Like me and you talk about this all the time. Life is like that.
Yeah.
Why would we wait for something we don't know is going to happen? Why wouldn't we want the thing that's now?
Right.
We want to live in the present. We want to enjoy the present, right? Can't think about the future. Can't look forward to it. We can't think long term. I mean, it's cool too in certain aspects, but it's so funny that you said that. That like really struck a chord with me. And when you said that part, like you wish you could think long term. You're a fault for that. I'm like, you're not at fault for that. Yeah, you're probably living what you're supposed to. That means you're living like you understand more of life in this term. It's how I kind of look at it, or how I see it.
No, it makes sense what you're saying. It's I don't know if I can get there. That's the by get there, I mean the point where I can forgive that 20-year-old.
Yeah, you don't have to know. You don't have to know in this moment. That's not the point of it.
Because I've tried. I've tried for 12 years, because I've gone to therapy a couple times, and it's something we've talked through in therapy, that I need to create space for myself for what happened, right? And to forgive that version of me, or that moment. The problem isn't forgiveness, it's forgetting. It's the child. The best way I can describe it is like a child who doesn't want to let go. The child in me, that it's a missed opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
Right? When you're
That makes sense.
When you're a kid and your parents tell you, "Hey, it's time to stop playing," or you got 5 minutes left, you're upset because you're like, "Fuck, I don't want this to end in 5 minutes."
Yeah, that makes sense.
And I think that's the part that I'm struggling, that I've continued to struggle with, is I could have had 5 more minutes, because then I did have that option. I don't have that option anymore. Can't say 5 more minutes.
That's fair. It's understandable.
I think we've wrapped up part 1 of episode 2.
I'm going to take a breath, because again, I appreciate you letting me in on that. The viewers and the listeners aside, but I appreciate you. We've never actually fully talked about it, so I appreciate that.
Yeah, of course. I appreciate you listening. I appreciate the listeners, the 3 or 4.
I hope we can't make that joke for long.
Hopefully. Yeah, if it is, it is.
I want to give you a hug.
It's okay. I got my emotional support animal
Here,
in the meantime. You gotta go a little bit wider, buddy. We're husky.
No, that's not true. I've hugged you before. It's not true at all. I know this. I know where I'm at.
You know where you're at. Yeah.
I got long arms, so
works out for me. Oh man. Anyway, let's gonna go quick overview of our next episode, and we can let our viewers or listeners rather be for our next episode, which will be part 2 of episode 2, the day it happened. We will be switching roles. Neel will be going through his story, his journey, his experience, and I get to be the listener this time.
Yeah. Yep.
So again, thank you, Neel, for letting me share. Thank you to our listeners for tuning in. Tune in next time for Baap.